I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I am Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm Brianna Jones.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater. And today, you guys, we have a super special guest.
Very special guest.
Very special guest.
The specialist of guests.
The best guest. All our guests are great, but this week is great because it's this week. Please welcome our very special guest. We have self-described queer surrealist playwright and all-around awesome human being, Hayley St. James. Cute applause. How are you doing, Hayley? Thanks for slumming it down here on the Musicals with Cheese podcast.
I'm certainly here for this. I'm very excited. It's been a while since I've actively listened to any musical theater because, you know, since the shutdown, it's been like, if I think about theater or watch theater, I will be very sad. So I've distanced myself a little bit and just focused on my rating. But, you know, y'all asked me to talk about my favorite show, so one of my favorite shows. How could I say no?
And how about we just cue it up? What is that favorite show?
I'm wearing it on my sweatshirt, y'all. It's Emojiland, the hit off-Broadway musical.
Cue the music, Bree!
Attention Emojiland! Breaking news this morning as we receive notification of a software update. The much anticipated download and installation are expected to take place tonight. Full coverage to come. Until then, this has been Information Desk Person, live from the Information Desk.
Emojiland is a musical with music, lyrics, and book by Keith Harrison and Laura Shine. It is based on emojis, you know, like the ones on your phones. It premiered off-Broadway on January 19th, 2020 at the Duke Theater on 42nd Street. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I was there opening night. They invited me.
You were? My God.
Wow.
So thing for people who are listening, before we get any further, I saw this show 23 times. The show ran 70 performances. I was there for a third of the entire run.
That's a lot. That's impressive.
That's incredible. I don't think I've seen anything that many times.
This isn't even my
movies and stuff.
This isn't even my most seen show. That's something rotten at 41. But that was over, 2.5 years.
I liked that one. That was a good show as well.
That's the show that made me become a playwright. So.
That's incredible. Like that's a show to do it. Like that. I love these feel good shows. I'm glad that Broadway isn't just depression.
Musical theater saved my life. Let's be completely real. But anyway.
Yes. I just want to talk about what is Emojiland and how is it different from the Emoji movie? Because it's even on their website. Like, if I didn't like Emoji movie, well, I like Emojiland. They're like, yes, it's nothing like that. Please come see our show.
Well, the premise is similar. The name is similar. Like, I don't know.
They were actually... the show was in development years before the Emoji movie was even in development, so...
It's incredible, because it was all the way back to Fringe festivals in 2018, a long, long time ago.
Yeah, no, they've been working on it for a while, because it first premiered at NYMF, at New York Musical Festival, at least a year and a half before they brought it to the Duke. I didn't get to see it at NYMF, and I wish I did, but...
Hey, you've got an impressive track record as is with seeing this 23 times when it played for less than 3 months.
Nearly 3 months, really, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks COVID. So I'm gonna stop for a moment and make Andrew tell us what the plot of this is, and you can tell us how good he gets the plot.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. I can run through it. Okay, I'm definitely gonna mess it up, and I have not seen it 23 times. I've only seen it once.
Do you remember the one time you watched it?
I remember the one time I watched it, though. All right. There's a lot of different characters. It opens up, and you're in Emojiland, and you have Smiles, who is a smiley emoji, and she's kind of the main character-ish, but there's also Nerd Emoji, but he doesn't come till later, so we're going to leave him out for a sec. Smiles and Sun, I think he's supposed to be the sun with the glasses emoji. Is that right?
He's smiling face with sunglasses, yes.
Yes. So, the smiling face with sunglasses and the smiling face are in a relationship, kind of. He's sort of a dude bro, I guess is the way you say it.
He's the biggest fucking dude bro.
Yeah, he's an alpha male, if to use internet terminology. And then... who else? There's the princess who runs Emojiland, and then there is the building, like construction worker and police officer who are also in a relationship.
Yes, we love the Emojiland lesbians.
Yes. So the plot really is that there's an update. The update happens and it adds a few more emojis, which is the prince who threatens the princess's power, and the nerd emoji, nerd face emoji, pardon me. Not nerd. Nerd is not the good term. Nerd face emoji and the prince. And the nerd face meets smiling face, and they hit it off in a way. But she is dragged away by the dude bro because obviously dude bros and nerds don't get along at all. So the nerd face meets the skull, and the skull is probably the best character, but the skull is great, and is evil-ish. I mean, it's a skull.
Just
It's like
obsessed with
Skeletor.
death, you know?
He wants to kill everybody.
And
because,
himself.
Yeah. So the nerd makes a poison for the skull to kill himself. But the skull is like, haha, I tricked you. I'm actually going to kill everyone and myself. And he releases the virus into Emojiland. And while all that is happening, the princess and the prince realize that there could be more royalty that could be added in future updates. So they work with the businessman on a hoverboard.
Levitating businessman.
Man in
Levitating
business suit
businessman.
levitating, played by Max
There it
Crumb.
is.
Man in business suit levitating. They work with him to set up a firewall around Emojiland. Not to actually stop viruses or anything, but because they don't want any more updates. The construction worker doesn't want to do it, but the police officer breaks the strike, basically, and forces them to. Okay. Then there's more. There's still more. There's already a lot that happened right there.
Love story. We're forgetting Nerd Face and Smiley.
Nerd face and smiles.
Yeah.
Smiles.
Oh, Nerdface and Smiles. Okay. Nerdface sees... Okay, this... I actually have to go back a little bit. Nerdface
You're getting
sees...
so lost in
It's
this plot,
fine.
Andrew.
It's fine.
I can't... trying to explain everything. There's a lot.
It is a
There
lot.
is. It's an ensemble piece in the best source of the way. Everyone's got such a deep story and don't want to forget
It's not
everything.
confusing, though. I'm explaining it really poorly. When you actually watch it, it's not confusing, but there is a lot for me to try to go over. Okay.
All right, Haley, how would you rate that? 10 out,
For
out
Act
of 10.
1, for a summary of Act 1 of Emojiland, that's like 99%
I did pretty
accuracy.
good.
Very good job, Andrew.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Act
I've only
2,
seen
let's
it
go.
one time, and I nailed it.
Better
Act
than
2.
Ben Brantley could have ever done.
Ben Brantley didn't even write the critics' pick. It was, I think, Lauren Collins
No.
Hughes. There's Laura Collins Hughes.
Oh, yes,
It's a good
we're going to
thing.
dive into that a little later. It's going to be fun.
Okay, Act 2, the virus is spreading everywhere. Nerdface is trying to stop it. There's some
one will
love
listen to
triangle
him.
stuff between Kissy Face, Sunglasses Face, and Smiling Girl Face, or just Smiling
It's
Face. I'm not
Smize.
sure
Smiling
which
face with smiling eyes. Smize, like
Smiling
on,
face with smiling
yeah,
eyes.
like on
I get it. Okay.
Smize. Yeah.
Smize.
Yeah.
Because of the eye. Okay, that makes sense. I thought it was short for smiling. Yeah, that was no, that's not what it is. Okay, smiling eyes, smize. Okay, there's that. The virus infects a lot of people, and they all start dying. So Nerdface goes into the phone. He leaves the firewall. And there's stuff with the police officer and construction worker that allow him to do that. And he wants to do a full total reset of the phone to bring it back to before all the stuff happened. The skull tries to stop him, but the skull eventually agrees that actually maybe killing everybody's not the right move. So then they do a total reset, and everyone's happy. The end.
Yeah.
That. So
Yeah.
you're saying a virus takes over a group of happy people, but they can't save themselves because they built walls around their country or whatever and can't escape? What does that sound like?
Emojiland was a documentary.
Yeah, I don't know. It almost sounds like the far-right conspiracy theory of a virus is being released into the country because they want to perform a great reset, like the deep state. I don't know.
That's a film coming out by Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's Emojiland coming out next year.
Zack Snyder's Great Reset is Emojiland adaptation.
All right, we've got all the groundwork for people to be able to follow us, because right now all there is that wonderful cast album. There's not, unless they're looking at slime tutorials, which of course they shouldn't be doing. My next question is going to be to you, Hayley.
Yes.
How did you get involved with this? What is your history with this show? I'm sure it's long, but I want to know it all.
It's not actually that long. I bought tickets to the first preview because they announced the cast. Like, I heard about it. I was like, oh yeah, this could be fun. I don't know. I see pretty much everything, but I don't know. I should save my money. I don't know. There's some people I like in it. I don't know. Like, I love Leslie Margarita. I love Josh Lehman. Like, I will see this. And then they just are like, oh yeah, by the way, Lucas Steele is playing Skull. And I'm just like, my boy, where have you been? So I saw Great Comet a lot. Lucas Steele is the reason I'm non-binary. That's a long story, but I never miss Lucas Steele in anything. So I bought my ticket to first preview because I wanted to see Lucas. I mean, I wanted to see everybody because there were a bunch of people I knew and loved. So I go to first preview. Yeah. I know absolutely nothing about the show going in. I leave first preview. I'm like, this is the happiest I felt since SpongeBob was on Broadway, honestly. Like, I'll come back. I don't know when that will be, but probably soon. Hopefully. I don't know. A few days later, I'm like, I think I'm going to try to go see Slave Play. So I get in the Rush line. The person in front of me gets the last Rush ticket, and I'm like, well, there's an afternoon wasted. What should I do? Does Emojiland have Rush? Walk over to the Duke. Oh, yeah, we have Rush. And I'm like, here, take my money. And it just kind of went from there, and by that point, because most of the very short last season, I had seen most of the things that were coming to Broadway because I saw them all when they were, doing the pre-Broadway engagements in Boston, because I'm from Boston. Normally, that's where I am right now. Thanks, pandemic. So I'd seen pretty much everything that had already opened that season musical-wise. So and most of the plays were limited engagements that were hard to get tickets to. So I pretty much just spent all my time at Emojiland, and I don't regret any seconds of it. The thing is, as the show kept going on, and like the run kept going on, and like, news of like, oh, so there's this coronavirus that's, coming from China, and we need to be a little, maybe, I don't know, just keep, cautious, maybe start wearing masks. I don't know, just wash your hands a lot. Here's some hand sanitizer at the front of the theater. Like, okay. But then by the time I kept seeing the show later and later into the run, by Act 2, it's like, this is just hitting way too hard. This is a musical comedy about singing and dancing emojis. Why am I crying? It's just, I mean, granted, the show makes me cry anyway, because it's just really so shockingly deep for a show that is, very much taken at face value by, anybody who even hears about it. Because, of course, the Emoji Movie is so infamously terrible.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I heard we were covering Emojiland, and I was like, is that like an adaptation of the Emoji Movie? Like, is this going to be horrific? And apparently it has nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all.
I've never seen the Emoji Movie, but even from what I've seen of it, this already feels like it's 100 billion times better.
You're correct. You are correct. I haven't seen the Emoji Movie either, but I don't ever plan to, because I'd rather just have an animated adaptation of this, actually. That's kind of exactly what I want. Especially because Keith and Laura worked on a lot of the songs in the Ugly Dolls movie, if you didn't know any of like their prior work. And I watched that like during pandemic because I was like, wow, I miss Emojiland. Oh yeah, I forgot Keith and Laura worked on this. So I watched it. I was like, wait, this is actually really cute, first of all. Second of all, these songs rock. Oh my God, of course they wrote it. So I think they should make an animated movie. I don't know how, but they should.
I agree. I think that this is like some of my favorite songwriting like on stage in like 10 years. Like as far as original musicals, and I do consider this original musical in the same way as like The Prom is. Like, this is an original idea, original story, original characters, all that. And I think they're both right up there as like things that brought me the most joy in like the last few weeks of my life, like things that have been on repeat that make me happy but also make me feel things. I think they're like right there for me, and I am thankful for you for giving me a reason to look into this. Thank you, Hayley.
Oh, I am so honored. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I love this score as well. I've started taking musical theater writing classes last fall. I'm taking some right now, mostly focusing on lyrics and book because of this show, really, more than Something Rotten just wanted to make me become a playwright in general. And like that gave me the push to do that. But Emojiland, seeing it so many times in such a short amount of time, made me really appreciate the writing in a way that, I don't know, I never really got to appreciate with a lot of other shows, even though like I love meeting creative teams and talking to writers on shows. Like, I don't know, like what Keith and Laura were doing with the show was just so really special and clever. Like, as I'm saying, like the show has no right to be this deep or this relatable.
I honestly just wonder where they even got the ideas, because if someone approached me and was like, hey, can you write a show about emojis? I mean, like, where do you even start? You know, it's like there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's little smiley faces on your phone. Why is there now 2 properties about these little smiley faces on a phone?
Because the nice thing is they're characters unto themselves. They all have like the way that they're designed, the way like if you look at how Unicode works, if you like follow like the Emojipedia on Twitter, they always post like the history of like how these designs came to be made. I don't know, it's just really interesting to see like why culturally we have specific images in the emoji, alphabet. Like every time we get new updates, it's like, oh, these are cool. Like, why haven't we actually had these before? Like, it took them how long to get a trans flag emoji? It took them this long to get like an accordion? Like, there's so many, I don't know, just... I mean, I know they went through a lot of different plot concepts before settling on this one specifically. Like, I think originally it was like a very Alice in Wonderland sort of thing of like a girl being sucked into her phone, but they were like, there's too many shows like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would not have been as good, I don't think. I mean,
I was actually about to bring up the fact that we don't see the human world is one of my favorite things about this, because it makes this reality more real. It doesn't take us out of like, oh, this is ridiculous. They're just things in our phone. Because it's real to them, it's real to us.
Yeah.
Like the stakes are very high for them, so we don't get that deflated by seeing a human being like, oh, my phone's acting weird.
Yeah, it's like you can just pretend that this is taking place on your own phone. Like, I mean, granted, by the time I, saw it by then, I'm like, oh yeah, no, like this is my phone. Emojiland takes place on my phone. But, I mean, really it does.
Well, the Emoji movie does the thing where you actually have the human characters, and like a lot of the plot is based on that. And I mean, I haven't seen it, but the commercial looks bad.
Yeah,
they show you that. So
yeah, from what I can tell, the Emoji movie is like the emojis are having like this weird adventure in the phone, and it's affecting the human who owns the phone's life in like weird ways.
Yeah,
and I just don't really love that because, I mean, we see enough things about humans as is. I think it's super cool that we're focusing on characters that entirely exist that are just pixels. I mean, but even then they matter and they have lives and they have souls, and I just think that's super neat. And it's really, I mean, what I love about the show is how existential it gets. I mean, which hopefully we'll talk about, because...
Yes.
We can talk about it right now, I think.
I want to talk about that so badly. Oh my god. So there is like some like what does life mean for people talk in this, like why are we alive, and my god, it's like the original version of the SpongeBob musical when it was a lot more existential and dark and a little bit more melancholy. I love both versions of SpongeBob. I mean, I prefer the Broadway version just a little bit because I think the book's a lot tighter. Yes, but
yeah, I do remember the Chicago version being very existential. But with Emojiland, like we have, Smize is a smiling emoji who has depression and she's constantly questioning her self-worth. And then we have Nerdface, who is just so incredibly optimistic, and he always knows that there's going to be a bright side and that we matter. And, then he, runs into Skull, who is a nihilist, and he's, I love Skull very much. Andrew, I'm so glad you said Skull is your favorite character. Skull is... Well,
Skull's phenomenal, though. I mean, the song, I mean, all the songs that he has, but definitely the Act 1 closer is
that is
the best.
What kills me is that between the cast album was recorded right before they started previews. So
really?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why Lucas doesn't hit the high F sharp at the end of Thank Me Now. Because when he did it live, normally... he would hit a high F sharp at the end, which is higher than the Petersburg note in Great Comet, which is... So it's getting to see that multiple times a week was always a lot, in a good way. But just the way that Lucas played Skull as this complete nihilist Victorian dandy with a death wish was just so utterly captivating. And they're like, wow, of course Nerdface would fall for this guy. He's so charismatic. And of course you would trust him to, accidentally, cause a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also Nerdface... funny. Like, he's very funny.
He is so funny. God, yeah.
I love that Nerdface as a friend is just like, oh, you want to die? Okay.
Just call me Jack Kevorkian.
Nerdface is so naive and so willing to help anybody because he's a nerd and he likes to help people solve problems that he's just, yeah, no, sure, I'll gladly help assist in your suicide. It's like kind of shocking for a show that seems so family friendly. But, and by the end when he realizes this awful mistake, but then allows Skull to have a change of heart is very, very cool. And even the scene before that, when we have Anyway, which is one of, if not the best song in the show, which lyrically is the heart of the material. Well, Smize is dying. She has the virus. She's dying in Nerdface's arms as she's singing about how we're all, we think that we're just little pieces of code, but we matter and we're all put on this phone for a reason. No matter if anybody barely uses our emoji or not. And just, in 2020, considering everything that was going on, that message hit so deep. And God, Laura and George sell the hell out of it. And it just breaks me. It just absolutely breaks me. I carry that song with me always.
It's played without an ounce of winking to the audience, we're emojis, don't forget we're in a this is played so dead serious, which makes your heart break for it. It makes you think about oh my God, am I their god technically because I have the phone?
They consider the code, they consider the Unicode itself to be God. So because in the book they're always we thank the code for all it's bestowed. Right. So the code is God, really. So they're just thanking whoever coded them. So yeah, they're basically, yeah.
And the reset at the end is also one of those things that's what makes us what we are is the question. If we get a full reset and we lose all our prejudices and all our past things and we become brand new, how does that change us as people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's a really interesting philosophical question. This show, as I said, shouldn't be as deep as this is a show about emojis, but it really makes you think about your place in the world and how we, also the entire show is about, not really taking people at face value, learning to not take people at face value because, as I said, Smize has depression. She's that wonderful, character introduction song with Sad on the Inside where she's really depressed. She's not really happy with Sunny. She just, she wants to be happy, but it's really hard. And that's super relatable. A lot of the characters get songs like that, which is really cool. And
this does what the best musicals do in songs, which is reinforce their thematic meaning as well as give them basic wants and needs and explains it. Even the Pooh song.
Yes, God, we love Pooh.
Which is probably my least favorite. Not even a reason for negativity. It's just one of them has to be at the bottom. And I still like that song a lot.
It's a nice little breather song before we get into the real emotional whiplash that is the second half of Act 2 of Emojiland. But even then it's this sort of Smize is really sad after, everything that's gone on in Act 1. And she feels bad about everything. She needs a pep talk. Why not have the Pooh emoji show up? It's great.
So, does the Pooh just live in the bathroom, or?
That's a thing I actually don't know. I never asked.
I was thinking. I was thinking. Okay, they're at the royal ball, and she goes to the bathroom, and the Pooh's there. So either the Pooh lives in the bathroom, or they invited the Pooh and not the nerd to the ball. They're yeah, the poop can come. The nerd, no, not having it.
It's interesting because the show tackles prejudices and xenophobia in really interesting ways. So that's a really interesting question. I've never actually thought about it because Pooh is kind of the fairy godmother character who shows up to help and then moves the plot along. So I've never actually thought about that until now.
So maybe we shouldn't stigmatize it. I have a musical theater structure question here. Who, in your opinion, is the main character of this?
Smize and Nerdface are deuteragonists, I'd say. Skull is, it's funny because then technically in a way, because Skull is the antagonist, but so are Prince and Princess.
Yes.
But
and Businessman.
and Businessman, I love Man in Business Suit levitating. There was a running thing at the end of every show when Man in Business Suit and Pooh would get together and like we find out like Man in Business Suit's name. Every single show, Max Crumb would change what his name was, like, or Anne Harada would just randomly like pull a random name out of a hat before she went on and would call Man in Business Suit levitating something completely random. And my favorite time was one time I was at the show and she called him Tupac and everyone lost it. And it's still my favorite. I still just call Man in Business Suit levitating Tupac. Like, that's his name. It's Tupac.
As far as I'm concerned, that is my headcanon now forever and ever.
Every single time. But yeah, I'd say Man in Business Suit is more of like, he's a henchman. He's not, I mean, he does come up with ideas that Prince and Princess follow through with. But yeah, Prince and Princess and Skull are the deuteragonists. Or they're the deuter, not the protagonists. They're the deuterantagonists, and we have 2 protagonists. And there's a big ensemble. So
agreed.
I
thought that was
if there's 3 of them.
No, there's 3 villains. There's 3 villains and 2 heroes.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, Smythe has the "I Want" song, quote unquote, in the place where it usually quote unquote is. It's the second song after the. So, like, I went through a good chunk of listening through the audio you sent me, and I was like, oh, okay, this is her story, I'm following it. And then Nerdface comes in, I'm like, oh no, I don't know where this is going now, but I'm in. So it kind of breaks musical theater structure in a way that works. Like, a lot of times I find a lot of playwrights find themselves confined by that structure and being like, all right, we gotta put this here and this here. And here I'm like, you're using those tools, but I don't know where this is going now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, as a playwright, I tend to, like, sometimes just introduce new characters, a bit into a show. At least one of my full lengths does that. I think it's a cool storytelling structure because they get a reset.
100%.
Like, basically a third into the show, we get their first reset that adds new characters, and then we get a second reset at the end of the show that resets everybody. So,
and that's great. But you know what? We've talked about this show and how much we liked it, but now it's time to compare our opinions with those of the New York theater critics of when it came out. It's time for everyone's favorite segment of the show. It's time for Previews.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
All right, so Laura Collins Hughes of the New York Times said, "This is occasional trouble too, with the orchestra overwhelming the vocals, including at the climax of Act 1. But these are nitpicks. This is a tonic of a musical, big-hearted and comforting. In Emojiland, even world-threatening mistakes can sometimes be repaired by the people who made them. And if you sense an allegory there, it might just cheer you up."
I love this review. I love sincere New York Times reviews. Like, this one specifically, like, was a breath of fresh air compared to, like, the Ben Brantleys of the world that we had for, like, 10, 15 years before that.
Yeah,
where it's just
I was so grateful they didn't send Brantley. Or Riedel. Like, I
kind of wonder what he would have said about
Riedel
this.
shouldn't be near a Broadway
Yeah.
show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've got opinions there.
Yeah, no. My thing is, I mean, depending on where you sit in that theater, because the Duke is only a 200-seat house. Depending on where you sit, the sound mix is a little iffy. I mean, I was usually smack dab front row center, like about 80% of the times I was there. So I never had a problem hearing anything. But I mean, if a critic, wasn't sitting that close to the stage, yeah, they might have some problems with the sound mix. I mean, at least by like opening, like I think the sound mix was like really solid. And I could hear everything just fine. And was I sitting front row opening? I can't remember, but I don't know. It's interesting because the Act 1 finale, I mean, I get like there's that part where there's kind of the all skate moment when everybody is singing under Lucas riffing like crazy. And like I get that like that mix was a little difficult to like parse while watching it live. But once we got the cast album, I was like, oh, yes, now I understand every word. And then by the time I would see the show again and again, it was like, yes, I'm getting everything now.
I love how sincere it is, but I can see where they're coming from with the audio, but that is a nitpick, and they admit it. Like, I love it that a New York Times review is admitting that they're nitpicking.
Absolutely. I love that they're like, yeah, we're not perfect. Yeah, we're not perfect theater goers. Like, that's kind of nice to hear from a critic.
Yes. Let's hear what Raven Snook said, because I'm very interested in how they decided to start this review. So, Bree, take it away.
Raven Snook of Time Out said Keith Harrison and Laura Shine's over-the-top musical comedy Emojiland aims for crying laughing emoji, but inspires smiley face emoji. At best.
Ridiculous way to start a review. But keep going.
It's thematic. It's thematically right.
I get it.
It matches, the theme of this. All right. With 16 musical numbers, dozens of characters, 3 main plot lines, including a heavy-handed political one about building a firewall, and a running time of well over 2 hours, Emojiland is a case of more is way too much, especially since the cyber silliness isn't that well scripted. Thankfully, its good old-fashioned analog performances prevent the show from crashing.
I don't agree with that. I
Seems
feel
a
like
bit
that's...
Did
overly
she
negative.
not read the book? I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think most of the reviews I remember saying we love the cast, they do a great job with the material, but they don't love the material, or they don't think the material is funny enough, or they think the material is too political, which is just lies. It's perfectly political. All theater is political, so...
I don't even think it's that political.
It's
the
not even-
firewall isn't really an allegory for the Trump
SpongeBob
wall.
was more political.
SpongeBob is more
Yeah.
political than Emojiland. Emojiland just happened to be really, really timely, more than
I think
overtly political.
Some people don't recognize that not all walls are the same wall. Mm-hmm. Just because there's a wall doesn't mean it's the wall.
Hades Town.
Hades Town, even though Anais Mitchell often says that that's not the same wall she was talking about either. The thing is, though, with Emojiland, I mean, Prince and Princess are very much like, we don't want new emojis, as well as we don't want to be replaced with a king or queen emoji. They do feel distrust, right? And then they start blaming the virus on new emojis who were here before the firewall. So
It's definitely political. I just don't think it's heavy-handed political.
I don't think it's heavy-handed whatsoever. But the way the book isn't that. I love the script. I mean, as someone who's taking book writing right now, like, I mean, I think it's because, unfortunately, I have the advantage of seeing it so many times. I could analyze this book for hours, honestly. I mean,
it's strong. Every scene gets out quick, starts late, and it's great. It moves super fast, and like all these mix of characters means that you're never bored in any one scene.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, I had not read Raven Snook's review before. Don't know why I didn't.
We got one more, and this one's from Brittany Crowell of the New York Theater Guide. And I remember this one being the one of the more infuriating ones for me. All right, let's dive into Brittany so we can get mad.
I get to be the bearer of bad news.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
This is Bree's review. She wrote this.
No, she didn't.
I did not write this.
I'm judging this person. Let's go.
Okay, so Brittany, and did you say it was Crowell or
I believe it's Crowell.
Kroll? Anyway.
We can't pronounce names. We get names wrong
we
constantly,
get names wrong
okay?
all the time.
Our patrons, we say wrong every week.
Sorry, Brittany. So Brittany Crowell, however she may pronounce it, of the New York Theater Guide said, unfortunately, Emojiland feels too simple and straightforward to add any real substance to your night at the theater, but it is not family-friendly enough to be accessible to children whose appetite is perfect for its energy. Performed fabulously by the all-star cast, it is an entertaining and wonderfully designed piece that falls short of its potential in narrative and meaning.
I disagree entirely. It rises above all the potential it had.
Exactly. And also,
What potential did it have to start? I mean, it's an emoji musical. You expect nothing going in.
you go
I mean,
exactly.
It could only go up.
For sure. Like, the bar is just like, the bar set is the Emoji movie, so literally anything will be better than that. And, they go completely blow it out of the water. But also, she's saying it's not family friendly, but most of the times I were there were plenty of children who were having a great time. Literally, the only swear in the entire show is bitch, and it's just one character, and that's Princess, and that's what she calls herself, so. it's, it's decidedly tame for a show that, if they were like, oh, we're doing emojis, but it's like, this is, a thoughtful, adult musical, then, it could have gotten, I don't know. I always like to joke with the cast and was like, what if y'all wrote a sequel and it's Emojiland After Dark? But we don't talk about that.
Oh my gosh, I want that in my life now. Because didn't they do that with I forget what the Spelling Bee. 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. That
they
was
would do adult
do.
only nights. Yeah, I think it would have been cool. I don't know. I don't know if they'd read a sequel because musical sequels aren't always a good idea. But
there's got to be the first really great one, and I don't see a reason why it couldn't be Emojiland.
I feel like there's plenty more that we could do with these characters. But yeah, no, that review puzzles me because it's like the tone swaps. It's like, oh yeah, it's a really fun time and the cast is great, but it's not a good show. And it's like, what? Huh? Very confused by the tone of that review. I don't like it.
It's a rare event where the New York Times is the most glowing review out of all the New York theater critics. And it makes me happy to see because it basically means all good things for Emojiland. And it likely would have if COVID hadn't ruined theater for a while.
Yeah.
So let's go into a mid-show and talk about some songs.
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you. Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. We love our patrons so much. I'm going to read the names this time just because I'm in the mood, and we've got a change here. Our current patrons are Terry Needleman, John Donna, Max Lutnig, Leighton Ackles. Congrats on coming out as non-binary, Leighton. Welcome. Danielle Renix, Jess Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Taskier, Fire September, Monica Thoreau, Mina Maniri, Brent Black, Haley Murray, Allison Wonderland, B-Way Flicks, Athano, Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Carrie Ahern, Irigale, Drew Whiter, Christine Malmedel, Cole Birchfield, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanous, heck you, I go by Elijah now, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Tablam, Kyle Summers, Jen A.C., Christina Francis, Felice A., Liz Lim, Corey Wilmarth, Allison Stellar, nothing is certain, except Beth and Taxes, Elizabeth, John Vanous, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Wayne the Wings, Lady Malvolia, Spectacle Machine, Jacob Stroop, Robert Benjamin, Rachel T., Jessica Tubis, Genevieve Hartness, Cass, parentheses, just Cass, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Hayden Wilder, Katie McDonough, oh gosh, some new names, Gengiest?
No, I think it's
Genkiest?
Genki Geist.
Genki Geist, welcome. Stakas, welcome. And Timothy Keys, welcome. These folks give us a little extra financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. If you'd like to join them in supporting us, you get tons of fun perks such as Patreon-only commentaries, our episodes a day early or even earlier. Come join us over at Patreon. Also, if you guys like to have our dumb faces on your body, buy our merch. Just go to musicalswithcheese.com and click the merch button and then buy it and give Andrew all the money.
Do we sell merch with our faces on it?
We will soon.
Oh, no.
Just you wait. It'll just be like this. It'll literally be a Zoom call image on people's chest.
That would be the shittiest shirt ever.
People will buy it, I'm sure. Just because. We'll even put the shittiest shirt ever. If you just do it ironically, people will buy it.
Oh, no.
All right, we'll
no
get
one's
back
gonna
to the
buy
show. They're going to buy it, I promise. See, now I actually have to make this shirt now. Thanks, Andrew. It's so great to be alive. It's just so great to be alive.
It really,
it really is, Jess. What makes you say that, though?
That's the opening number of the show!
Oh, he got me.
Whatever's installed, I'm sure gonna bump up my followers. Hey, when you got a face like mine, you ain't gotta be needy. Oh, cause a look is powerful and mine's undoubtable. My cool, so palpable, it freaks me out a little. My blue, so true to me, sticks like glue to me. Our love is real. Spies, tell them how you feel.
It's just so great to be alive.
I love this song so much. It put me right in the mood.
It's such a delightful opener because it's one of those all skate numbers where you get to introduce all the characters in, really fun ways. You get a little bit of everybody's personality, but it's still like a great opening introduction to this world. I'd put it up there with like Bikini Bottom Day and Welcome to the Renaissance for sure.
Well, it has a very difficult job of building a world in and of itself, which is very difficult in most media, but let alone in a musical where you're stuck like in the black box behind you.
Yep.
This nails it. My goodness, this like nails it. In a way, like SpongeBob, we have that. Like we have the previous versions of that to kind of take with us. Nothing. They have to build everything from scratch. And
Yeah.
it works. I am shocked at how well that worked. That was the minute I knew, like, this is not going to be the Emoji Movie, the musical.
I'm really glad it wasn't like a number about like kids being on their phones all the time, and then there's emojis in the phones. Look at that! It's like,
Cringe
oh my
boomer
goodness.
kids today.
I mean, the next thing
Always
is
in their
the
kids
phones.
writers
today.
are not cringe boomers. They're like in their
Yes, of
30s.
course.
They're like young musical theater writers, which is great.
Which is great.
That's the difference between the Emoji Movie and Emojiland.
Oh yeah, I guarantee the Emoji Movie musical would have opened with the "Kids these days, they're always on their phone" song.
Always on the phones, never want to talk. And then we were like, wow, they've got a whole world in that phone. Could you imagine?
The world of emojis.
Wow. Cursed. That's very cursed.
Thank goodness that wasn't it. Thank goodness that was not what we ended up with.
Oh no, that was not even close. It's like the opposite of that.
But that's set up for like what was going to be an above average like family musical. The next song was what made me realize, no, this is not a family musical. And that is Sad on the Inside, which broke my heart and tore it into a million pieces for this happy face emoji that I just met and fell in love with immediately.
Standing here smelling the flowers for hours and hours, wondering why this is something I do. I should feel perfectly sunny with no chance of showers. They see the me that's yellow, but they never see the blue. Ooh.
Laura is so wonderful, and she really just taps into that very universal feeling of, we hide. People are really good at hiding their emotions, and like Smize is kind of the best at it in, a really heartbreaking way, because she's, this is her job as an emoji. She is the smiling face with smiling eyes emoji. She is just all smiles all the time, but no, inside she is just so sad. God, such a mood.
Isn't there a subplot in the Emoji Movie where the meh face wants to be a different face?
That's like the whole plot of the show, of the movie, I think, is that Meh doesn't want to be Meh. He wants to be something else.
That is just one piece of Emojiland, and it's so much deeper
Well,
here because
it's done a lot better in this.
Everything is done a lot better.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe the Emoji Movie is a masterpiece. I'm like
just
shit talking
imagine the
it,
worst
and I've never
version
seen
of
it.
the super smiley happy emoji, which would be like, oh, they're vapid and always about themselves, and they might be secretly evil or something because they're always so happy. But here it's like, no, depression. We're gonna talk about this. We're opening up this for a discussion, and my God, and. Like, she also wrote the show, right?
Yes, she did. Yes, Laura co-wrote the show and starred in it. Because she co-wrote the book and she co-wrote the lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah. Eat your heart out, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's see you be an emoji. Dave Malloy, come on, come be an emoji.
Dave Malloy is the accordion emoji. Dave Malloy and it's just Pierre. He just comes on with the accordion. He's like, I'm the accordion emoji. I'm just gonna do
accordions just for fun.
I don't know. I mean, I like thinking about like Emojiland, but like all the other musicals, like because there's someone did like I don't know it was like the parody bill, the people who do like the parody playbills. They did the opening night post for Emojiland was Emoji Town, and it was Emojiland but Hades Town, and I was very here for that because I love Hades Town. It was nice.
It's very good.
What
Yeah.
other musicals could you tell with emojis now that I'm thinking
I
about
mean,
it?
There's a lot.
Isn't that already a thing?
People-
Isn't there like Twitter accounts that do that?
That
They're-
makes sense, yeah.
They do like some people do like, oh, describe it a musical using only emojis. They do those kind of posts all the time.
All right, describe Emojiland using only emojis.
And I just use every emoji from the main characters of the show. Like I just do all of them. I think there was a point where I actually had all of them lined up in order, like as like a hotkey on my phone. So if I just typed in Emojiland cast, it would just be, smiling face with smiling eyes emoji, nerd face emoji, skull emoji, prince emoji, princess emoji.
I can't find the levitating businessman.
Oh, he's there. He's right
I've looked
underneath
for
the
him.
dancing girl emoji. I hate that this show made me memorize my emoji keyboard, but it did.
I kind of
Every time
realized
I
that
look at my emojis,
I don't really know most of the emojis that exist. I only kind of use like 3 of them.
Let's talk about Cross My Bones.
Cross my bones and hope to die. We don't need an alibi. It's in my code, I must comply. Cross my bones and hope to die. And hope to die. And hope to die.
Is that the villain song? Because it is kind of like a trickery song.
Skull gets 2 villain songs, which is very cool. We
Yeah.
get this sort of introduction to Skull that's like sort of like the seduction kind of in a way, the seduction to the
Yes.
dark side, where Skull is just wanting Nerdface to be his friend because he's very lonely and he's very depressed and very suicidal. So yeah, this is definitely more of a seduction song as opposed to the outright villain song, which is the Act 1 finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The oxymoron of a villain that's goal is to die and take everyone with him is like incredible.
Skull is a nihilist, and I love it. I love it so much.
I feel like there's other villains that are like that, but maybe not.
Not in
I don't
musical
think it's
theater.
actively like that.
Not
No,
in
definitely
musical
not in
theater.
musical
Oh,
theater.
no, not in music theater. Yeah, no, I mean, most villains do want something for themselves, whereas Skull does legitimately just want to kill everyone and himself.
Like, it's not a world domination. It's not even world destruction. It's like, I'm taking all y'all with me.
Yeah. Skull is
What?
Skull's I like to describe Skull as he's like a goth anarchist. He just wants everything to be destroyed. Yeah.
Andrew, what'd you think of this song, like, in general?
I think this one is fine. I like the introduction of the Skull character, and I think that especially the first couple lines with him and everything is very funny, but this one doesn't really compare to Thank Me Now. That one's just amazing.
I like this one because it takes its time. It is a little bit like a droning, kind of like depressive, and you never really believe what's being said, but you are kind of like, all right, maybe this is a sympathetic, and I'm judging because of the nose ring or something.
Jess would make the poison.
Yeah.
I
You'd
would.
make
The virus. Yeah. Literally just the test tube emoji. Literally just the test tube emoji.
I'd make it and be like, just don't drop it, okay?
But yeah, I kind of like how it kind of sounds like a Radiohead song, kind of.
Yes.
Like
I
the
hear that.
tone it's going for is very like it's very much almost it's very creep-esque, like in the best way.
I can't unhear it now. Thank you. Like, yeah. That's about right. How would you describe "Thank Me Now"?
Oh, Thank Me Now is more Muse. Thank Me Now is more on the Muse side.
It's thus my privilege to treat us to a viral code that shall delete us. Don't thank me now, I'll steal you down, for liberty is pending. Oh, thank me now, become a fan. Captivity is ending.
Thank Me Now. I think is my favorite song in the show without being the best, if that makes sense.
That's also how I feel. But I'm also biased.
I think it is the best song in the show. I don't know.
I'm very, very biased. but
Anyway starts again. Anyway is the best, but Thank Me Now is my favorite.
Thank Me Now is like in my top 5. I mean, I'm very biased because I love how Lucas sounds on it. I just love how it's staged. I love it just feels like, yes, it feels like it feels like the musical equivalent of like the evil villain telling you their plot and how they're finally going to take over the world. And like, it has that driving sense of doom and, you know, triumph in a way, like triumphant doom. Cause like, he's finally done it. He's done the thing. And it's just so, so cool. And then getting that little all skate bit in. I know I use the word all skate so much. I just miss ensembles. I miss this cast. I miss this whole cast because they all played so wonderfully silly and delightful off of each other. Like, even when the material got really serious, and I kind of loved that.
Incredible.
But this song slaps. And as I said, normally not on the cast album, but live most of the time, high F sharp. He would riff at the end and do this high F sharp before dropping the test tube. He hits the high note, drops the test tube, blackout. Just what?
And let's say, like, as an Act 1 closer, you were literally all about to die because of me with this virus, is as good a reason to come back for Act 2 as I've ever seen.
I completely concur.
All right. Act 2, I'm not going to lie, there's not a crazy amount of songs I really want to talk about aside from Anyway, which is the best song in the show, in my opinion. Like, there's things we could stop and chat about, like Pile of Poo, which is fun and a lot of energy and, like, great, hilarious, but Anyway breaks my heart.
It's funny because for me, I think the 3 best songs on the show come back to back to back, and that's Police Officers, 1,000 More Words,
Yes.
followed by Anyway, followed by Start Again. That is basically the holy trinity right there for the show for me. They're just all so good. Because
I can see the argument that not a single one of them are the 11 o'clock number. They are all the 11
3
o'clock
of them, because
moment.
they're
Yes.
the 11 o'clock number for each specific character arc. Because that's, you know, police officer literally just lost the love of her life to the virus, and she is mourning. Despite she has to go do her job, she's just mourning. And God, Felicia Boswell on that song. Like, I was like, they should just release this as a single. Like, out of context, this song is just phenomenal. And by the end of that run, like, I think she got a standing O's quite a few times, which is very rightfully deserved. She's amazing.
Agreed.
It's just so powerful. And then, you know, you go straight to Anyway, which is just the heart of this show. Like, I quote it pretty much in its entirety in my review for the site that I wrote for. Because I'm like, guys, critics who didn't like the book or the lyrics, have you not, like, read the lyrics to Anyway? This is the heart of the show. If you were like, what was the point of the show? It's a fun musical comedy. I'm like, did you not listen to the song about existentialism and why we were put on this planet? Like, hello?
Emojiland, why were you put on this planet?
Pretty much.
And more fun ideas. The question is, like, for me is, like, do emojis have a heaven? Like, I know they worship the code, but what happens to their old selves when they reset? Like, these are the questions I'm left, like, with, like, who, like, will they find each other again in the end? Smiley and Nerdface, like, and if it does, will it mean as much because they didn't have all the previous history together? All that stuff is, like, bubbling inside my head.
There's so many good questions that the show raises, and I love that.
This is like a Charlie Kaufman story, but about emojis.
Oh my God, you're right.
Let's talk about Start Again now.
Greedy, selfish, false, and ungrateful. Shallow, foolish, cruel, and plain hateful. That's how our creators chose to design us. Oh, any joy to be found proves fleeting, and history has its way of repeating. Crazy is not wanting out from where they confine us. Oh, love feels like matter, but love's merely chatter.
Oh my gosh, like this, like the growth of buddies together to like reset the world.
It's such a
All of it.
What causes the skull to change his mind, though?
Nerdface just convinces him through his, his positive, optimistic outlook on life and thinking about how, like, hey, if you have the opportunity to reset, maybe, you'll have a change of heart too when we all reset. And like, it's not a good, I don't know. He cares. Nerdface is just so hopeful and kind, and he's so good. I love him.
Nerdface is everything that rational big boys should strive to be.
Smart and emotional.
Yes.
Come on.
He's
Facts do care about my feelings.
Yeah. And it's such a good number the way we get between the two of them. Like, it's funny because between Cross My Bones and Start Again, like, Georgia Boot and Lucas Steele's harmonies are just killer. It's so great. They sound so good together.
At one point when they have like the legitimate emojis on like the projections and all that, I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
I want to see the actors I fell in love with for my climax, and then they come on. I'm like, oh, thank God.
And they get their final battle. It's so good. It's
yes.
so
You
satisfying.
didn't really think they were going to end it on a
I
projection
did.
screen.
For a
You
second, I was
really
like,
did?
oh, are
my
they really
goodness.
going to just do like these emojis fighting each other? Is that her ending?
They were going
a little
to bonk into each other.
That was a legitimate. You have not seen Jekyll and Hyde revival enough to know how much people will rely on projections.
Oh no, I don't.
I didn't see
I don't
the
want to think
revival.
about Jekyll and Hyde.
I've only seen the Hasselhoff version.
It's Constantine Marula screaming at a screen that is the Hyde, and the screen is singing at him. And I'm like,
That's-
no.
I love Constantine, but why?
That's not
That's
his
a
fault.
choice.
That's just the way they.
That's a choice. That is absolutely a choice. My God. But yeah, I love the projections in this show. Like, it's one of those
Yes.
shows that's like, oh, I'm tired of shows where the set is just one big projection. But here, no, it's actually like a physical, tactile set where they use projections on specific elements, with like one specific element in the center of the screen, at the center of the stage. And there's lots of cubes that they move around, kind of like falsettos. It's pretty great.
Wow.
Pretty great set design.
Incredible. Because I didn't really get that from like
That's-
the audio, the cast recording, and of course the slime tutorial on the YouTubes.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, the person who filmed that did a lot of close-ups, which is not ideal for a show that is this visual and is so much an ensemble piece. Because I'm so mad. We should have had a pro shot, because this is a show that one really deserves it, because it deserves a wider audience. Yes. But on top of everything, this is a show that is so visually really special. The costume design, especially.
Yeah, I mean, we can hope that they'll come back.
I'm hoping. My big hope.
Honestly, who knows at this point?
My big hope is, because I think they put, I don't know if they kind of put the entire set away after once the shutdown happened, or they had to clean out. I know the last time I saw Lucas Steele, he went to clean out his dressing room. But I was thinking that like once like if like they're starting to record more shows like during the pandemic to release, like they filmed Diana, they're gonna go film Come From Away. They should get the cast back and do a pro shot of Emojiland, because I think it would be really timely and really cool. Also, what kills me is there are more photos of me in my stage accurate skull cosplay than there are of Lucas in the skull costume, and I can't decide if that's really impressive or really sad.
I think it sits in the middle somewhere, which is we need more, but you're also awesome, Hayley.
I don't want to be the be-all end-all. I love this show a lot, but it's not my whole life. It's just a show that means a lot to me.
And now I think it's time that we all sum it all up. All right, folks, what is our overall thoughts on Emojiland the musical and our cheese rating? I'm not sure if Hayley knows about our cheese rating, so I'm going to make Andrew go first.
Sure. Overall thoughts. I mean, it's a pretty fun show to watch, and it's a lot deeper and more interesting than you would expect from anything based on emojis. I certainly was expecting it to be a lot worse than it was, like a lot worse. It ended up being pretty good. So I would recommend at least listening to whatever you can out there. I know it's not really easy to find and watch at this time, but, I think you could still listen to the cast recordings and everything, so I'd recommend that. As far as a cheese rating, this is a very easy one. I am going to give it the cheese emoji, obviously. I don't think there's anything else you can give it. So
I'm going to
there you go.
disagree. Hayley, you're up next. What is your overall thoughts and your cheese rating?
Okay, well, this is a show that I went in with zero expectations, and I left it just feeling very, very moved, shockingly moved, having an amazing time. It's entertaining, it's thoughtful, it's delightful, it's so charming and clever, an amazing score that deserves a lot more credit than it gets. It's a true ensemble piece, which I adore and I'm always here for. It's got some pretty amazing songs, some of my favorite lyrics and songs in general in modern musical theater. Really, really clever and thoughtful book. It's a show that I think really deserves a cult following in the best ways, and I really hope it gets the attention it deserves when theater comes back, hopefully. If I have to give it a cheese rating? I mean, I'd also give it the cheese emoji because that's very, very obvious, but as someone who really loves...
I always go with the easy answer.
Yeah, but I also feel like, if we vote by like our favorite cheese, because I really love a smoked Gouda. And like, I'd say this show is a really nice smoked Gouda. It's comforting, it's delightful, it just makes you feel good to be alive, despite a pandemic, despite, a terrifying administration that thank God is over, that the show, sometimes very uncomfortably echoed. Yeah, this show is just a big, comforting bowl of smoked Gouda macaroni and cheese. Yeah.
I love it.
That's how I feel about Emojiland.
That you gave it Gouda, but you didn't do the "it was good" pun. I'm very glad you didn't.
I love puns, but I'm not that obvious.
We've had several guests give us that one, which, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this
it's
is
an easy one to go for.
Yeah, this is smoked Gouda mac and cheese, the musical, but it's emojis. They're emoji shaped. The noodles are emoji shaped.
Yes.
Oh, like the little
Yes.
smiley pastas?
Yeah,
The
exactly
SpongeBob
that.
pasta things they used to give out.
I love SpongeBob mac and cheese. It's the best shape, like objectively. That's objectively the best. But yeah, no, this is emoji shaped smoked Gouda mac and cheese.
Perfect. All right, Bree, what did you think of our discussion and your cheese rating for our discussion?
Okay. I would say that this discussion was passion fueled. I have never heard you guys, I think, talk about something so positively, and it was definitely a breath of fresh air. I think it's been a minute since I've heard you guys really have enjoyed a musical.
Damn. Are we that mean?
You were very nice to this musical, I will say that. Compared to the last couple we've done, maybe. I don't know. But I am excited to put this podcast together and listen to the cast recording because it sounds like it was really, really good. And you know what? Maybe I'll just watch it if I can find it, which I'm sure I can with the help of Jess and Andrew. So I think I'm going to give it a marshmallow fluff cream cheese dip. It is one of my favorite things to dip fruit in, and it always makes me really happy because I rarely have it because it's really bad for you because it's just sugar and cheese, cream cheese.
That is a great answer. It's going to put mine to shame because mine's really stupid. I want to echo what everyone just said. This show makes me so happy. Like, I've wanted a show to, like, make me feel the way Great Comet had, and Hadestown, as much as I liked it, didn't quite do it. This does. It might just be the Lucas Steele of it all. Like, I just need more Lucas Steele and things.
Don't we all?
Put him as Jesus and Jesus Christ Superstar.
I've been
he'd be
saying
amazing.
that for years.
Put Ted Neely to shame. It would be incredible.
I have a whole list of roles I want Lucas to play. We all know I want him as David Bowie, but that's it for another time.
Of course. I don't want to repeat things. We're getting to the end of the show. I know y'all are antsy. So mine is queso fresco cheese, a recipe found on the Curd Nerd, which would be the favorite website of Nerdface, because he's also a nerd.
Adorable.
Yeah, so Hayley, tell people where they can find you, like everything that you're on. Promote yourself.
Okay, well, I'm on Twitter at Hayley St. James, which is at HayleyStJames. You can also find me on New Play Exchange. Just look for my name, Hayley St. James, if you want to, inquire about producing my works. I write a lot of very queer, very neurodivergent, very fun, very, surreal plays. I would love to see some, stuff happen during the pandemic. Not really on Insta much. Mostly just find me on Twitter. That's where I'll be. I'll be mostly just talking about theater and Coldplay and David Bowie and not much else.
Hayley's got one of the best Twitters, best theater Twitters out there. It's wonderful. Top 10,
wow,
better
okay.
than what Broadway World's doing, I will say that.
Wow.
Up there with Rachel Zegler as theater content that's actually informative.
I love Rachel.
Really, it's great. Rachel Zegler's popularity both makes me happy and baffles me. It is the first time people have gathered around a person without seeing the one thing that they've done. We haven't seen a frame of that movie that has officially been released, and yet we love her anyways.
I met her at Jagged Little Pill stage door a year ago, the night that Ezra went on as Joe, which was amazing because Ezra is in West Side Story with Rachel, and Rachel was so nice at the stage door. I just told her how much I love her and how cool she is, and she was just so nice, and I love her. I think she deserves the universe. She's great, but you just compared me to her, and I can't deal with that. That's a lot. That's a lot for me to take in right now. But thank you.
And I'm hoping within the next few years we'll be talking about one of Hayley's musicals or plays on this show. It'll be great. On that note, thank you guys for listening. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese, Twitter, Cheesy Musicals, Patreon, Musicals with Cheese. Hey, patrons, people. YouTube page, Musicals with Cheese. We have a patron-only podcast where we're currently talking about Gallivant. We're going through every episode of Gallivant. Yes. It's a ton of fun.
Very fun.
Revive
Very
Gallivant.
fun show.
Revive Gallivant Disney Plus.
Yes.
What the hell are you doing?
It is great.
It's so good. I want a stage version. Real bad.
Yes. But also, I always see the Tangled series as a spiritual sequel to Gallivant.
Yeah, because it's
all
the
same
Slater and
writers.
Menken. Yeah.
And Dan Fogelman,
And
who
Dan
created
Fogelman.
Gallivant, also wrote Tangled and came back for the series. It is a good place in my heart that Gallivant.
Very fair.
filled
Very
previously.
fair. But also, we miss King Richard, and we love you, Tad Cooper.
Yes, 100%. Andrew has not gotten quite to how good King Richard is yet.
No spoilers. King Richard is everything. But that's all I'm gonna say. Oh, you're not ready. You're not ready, Andrew.
Shoot us an email at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our transcriptions are by Masha Litvinova. We love you very much, Masha. Our title card is created by the amazing Jolene Casco. Send her some love on Instagram at Jolene Casco, spelt with a C. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Thank you for keeping track of that, because God knows I wasn't going to do it. This show is produced by the incredible, the fantastic, my favorite person in the world, Brianna Jones. Thank you, Brianna, for keeping us going. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for keeping us on the platform and for not, sending us out back with Old Yeller. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen where they're just gonna be all right, Musicals with Cheese, your time is up. Time to get off the site now.
That was dark.
We're just too mean to everybody,
We're nice to Emojiland, but
Yeah, not today. You guys are very nice today.
yeah,
we're only
glad
nice
to-
to these niche shows.
I'm
and
glad
then
I was
We
here
really
for y'all
are.
being nice. I love when that gets to happen. I think this show, just brings out joy and happiness, which I think is great. I'm glad y'all were here to talk about it with me. And
it was great. We were so happy to have you on, Hayley. Anytime you want to come back on or you got a show you're I'm really passionate about this, always feel free to reach out. We'd love to have you back on.
oh, very good to know. Very good to know.
Anything y'all want to say before we wrap this on up?
everybody have a very pleasant evening or day.
And play with your emojis on your phone. They need love.
They
need
really
some
do.
love.
They really do.
All right. We'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. Cross my bones and hope to die.
We don't need
That's my
an
best.
alibi. It's in our code. I must comply. Cross my bones and hope to